Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm Erin Harkey. I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events. It's my great pleasure to welcome you. Thank you. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to this special press preview of the Grand Army of the Republic Memorial Hall and Rotunda, reopening to the public tomorrow following a meticulous year-long restoration process. It was certainly worth the wait. Don't these spaces look incredible? I want to take a moment just to recognize a few important people in the room. First of all, Mayor Lightfoot and First Lady Amy Eshelman, thank you so much for being here today. And also start a kind of long list of thank yous that we need to do to just acknowledge the many folks who participated in this process and who this work could not have happened without. I want to also thank fellow commissioners, Commissioner Maurice Cox of the Department of Planning, Acting Commissioner Sandra Blakemore of the Department of Assets and Information Services, as well as all of the DPD, AAS staff, members of the Landmarks Commission, Mayor's Office, and the DCASE team for their support this past year supporting this incredibly ambitious and important project. I want to also thank, of course, the restoration team and our generous anonymous donors without whom this project would not have been possible. And the biggest and most heartfelt thanks to cultural historian Tim Samuelson and architect Gunny Harbo. You'll be hearing from Tim and Gunny shortly. As you know, the Chicago Cultural Center is home to two magnificent stained glass domes. With its sparkling mosaics and art glass dome, the better-known Preston Bradley Hall has been a must-see attraction in this building for decades, but it's received some stiff competition from the G.A.R. rooms today. Now fully restored, the G.A.R. rooms reflect their historic appearance, but they also can now facilitate a wider range of free and diverse cultural programming. This includes upgraded lighting, electrical, and Wi-Fi, and opportunities for artists and organizations to activate the space through performances and exhibitions. I'm happy to see this magnificent restoration come to fruition. The work not only improves on the building and physical structures, it enhances the public programming here at the Cultural Center, which is something that we're deeply, deeply committed to doing. Just to give you a quick snippet of that, and I'll go into that a little bit later, we have a full reopening weekend planned where we have an opportunity to look behind the scenes at the restoration process through a conversation with art historians on what sacrifice and freedom continue to mean today, and dance performances celebrating 2022 as the year of Chicago dance, intentionally centering Black artists and perspectives in the historical context of slavery and the American Civil War. I'll tell you a little bit more about the weekend's program in just a few minutes, but now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our first speaker. Mayor Lightfoot recognizes the important role that artists and cultural organizations play in Chicago's economic recovery and bolstering the quality of life in our city. She believes that revitalizing our city's arts and culture scene is essential to our post-pandemic recovery, and that the arts must be at the center of bringing Chicago back in downtown and all of our 77 neighborhoods. A tireless advocate and supporter of the local creative community, she truly is our arts mayor. And the arts community is grateful for your leadership and your support. Thank you very much, Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
Good morning, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be in this room that frankly feels unrecognizable from what we knew and saw before. And thank you all for being here as we reopen this room to our city and the public, the Grand Army of the Republic Memorial Hall and Rotunda. I want to also note a few other people who are here, and importantly, former DCASE Commissioner Mark Kelly. It was under Mark's leadership that this project began, and really he shepherded this along the way. So thank you, Mark, for many, many things, but in particular for the project that we are unveiling today. Of course, I'm going to give a shout out, and you'll hear from him, our cultural historian, Tim Samuelson, architect Gunny Harbo, and I hope he's going to talk a little bit about what his team did painstakingly to do the hard but necessary work of restoring this room. And of course, I want to thank the members of the restoration team themselves. Had to be a labor of love, given the intensity of the work, and also, of course, our generous donors, without whom this moment would not be possible. Let me also echo the words of Commissioner Harkey in saying that we are thrilled to invite the public back into this magnificent space. And as she said, we're going to do it not just by opening it up, but also inviting programming and education opportunities so people understand and learn the history of the Grand Army of the Republic and Chicago's critical role in winning the freedom of slaves, but also freedom of our country as a result of the Civil War. So after a meticulous year-long restoration of the art, glass dome, and decorative finishes, these rooms are ready to host a variety of performances and exhibitions. This once-in-a-lifetime project was made possible by a generous grant of services valued at $15 million, and it sounds like it was like any kind of home improvement project. You start with one thing, and then you see another thing, and then you go on. And the donors were really magnificent in hanging with us and understanding the importance of restoring this entire room for the public. This reopening is also the result of partnerships we forged with public and private sector leaders. I want to thank them for their ongoing support of our city and art cultural scene. These revitalized spaces reflect their historic, beautiful appearance, but bring the cultural center into the 21st century. This restoration could not have come at a better time. Many of you know we are celebrating the 125th anniversary of this magnificent building that we now know as the Chicago Cultural Center. What was once Chicago's first library, this building was designed to impress and prove that Chicago was on the map as a sophisticated global city. People are drawn here from all over to see its beauty, and they stay for the events. Year after year, the Cultural Center presents hundreds of free events with international, national, regional, and local artists and musicians and performers, providing a showcase for residents and tourists alike to learn about the arts and experience its beauty. And of course, these events had been put on pause for quite some time because of the pandemic. But my friends, we are back. Thankfully, because of the hard decisions and sacrifices made by our residents, we are in a vastly different place and better place because of the work that has been done over these last 2 years to really follow the science and the data and make sure that we were saving lives through our pandemic mitigation and recovery efforts. By launching new and improved spaces such as these, we are bringing back our creative communities and bringing them back together and making a huge leap forward. The revitalization of our city's arts and cultural scene is absolutely essential to this recovery, and we have been very intentional about making it a part of this and central to what we're doing throughout the city and particularly in our neighborhoods. The arts must be the center of bringing back tourists to our downtown and our neighborhoods. That's why my administration has been a huge supporter of the arts community, increasing investments into the tens of millions of dollars, making sure that we've got a dedicated stream to support the arts in our corporate budget and not just relying upon the hotel tax. This is vital to who we are as a city. Through the city's recovery and opening initiatives, we have invested over $60 million to support local artists and organizations. And again, I've got to give credit where credit is due. Under Mark Kelly's leadership and Aaron Harkey's tenure in the mayor's office, we understood that we must have arts at the center of our recovery. And thanks to these revitalization efforts in our pandemic progress, our vital arts and culture scene is making a tremendous comeback. And let me just share with you, just last night, we were at, many of us, at the Lyric Opera. And I encourage any of you who have not seen the current performance to go. It's difficult, it's heartbreaking, but it is so essential and really moving in the way in which the performance is done, directed, and the cast and the crew were just simply magnificent. So whether it's going to theater, taking in a musical performance, or coming to the dance performance that's being held here this weekend, this is what we mean by Chicago is an arts and cultural mecca. Once again, I'd like to express my deep appreciation for the generosity and care that went into this project. I want to thank Commissioner Harkey and the DCASE team for not only leading our arts culture initiatives, but keeping our beloved cultural center restored to its full glory and opening it up for our residents and visitors alike to really enjoy and cherish. And with that, it's my great pleasure to welcome up our historian, Tim Samuelson, who can tell us about the rich history of the Chicago Cultural Center. And after that, Gunny Harbaugh and Tim spare no detail talking about the incredible contributions of Chicago residents and veterans to our Civil War effort and why this room is so important. Well, maybe a few details. Come on up, Tim.
Well, Gunny, here it is. It's pretty amazing. Who would have thought 2.5 years ago we would be at this? And in what was previously said by Commissioner Harkey and Mayor Lightfoot, this is the product of many people and many hands. And out here amongst us are the people who are involved in putting this all together, the craftspeople, the people who have generously donated to create the gift of this wonderful room. I mean, we could go right down the list. And all I can really say about this, and I think you could say as well, is I really like what you did with the place. I mean, this was a pretty sad-looking place, and I worked in this building for years, and it was pretty wonderful. But you knew that the building, this room was kind of sleeping, that something had happened to it. It was called the 1970s. Bell-bottoms, maybe even leisure suits at that time, and everything got covered with a coat of really bland paint. The light fixtures were missing. But this is really a remarkable project. This was building a room that was created within what was the old Chicago's Central Library, completed in 1897, special quarters for an organization called the Grand Army of the Republic. This was an organization that was devoted to the heroes of the Union side of the American Civil War. These were the much treasured and honored veterans at the time. They had an organization that banded together for meetings. This was their central headquarters. And what do you do to honor people who have fought this fight and survived? But you create a place for them to gather, a place of camaraderie between those who survived, a place of memory for those who didn't, a place of realization of what they were fighting for. All very much present here. And what do you do when you have people that you honor like this? You give them the very best. So architects Shepley, Rutan, and Coolidge of Boston, one of the great architectural firms of the United States. But also, what do you do in collaboration and decoration? Why, Tiffany. What else? And so beautiful painted Tiffany interiors. Tiffany consulted on the colors and the dome. As I say, it all got kind of covered up and changed. Everybody loves a story of buried treasure, but mostly you think of shovels and pirates and digging up things. But what about where the Tiffany treasure and the heritage and the vibe of the room is hidden behind layers of paint? I didn't think it was possible to be done to this degree, except for the efforts of the people who generously got behind it, those who know how to do things right and do it so that it'll last for the ages, that we'll never forget. No more 1970s for this room. This is going to stick around. And how is this all done? Well, all I had to do was sit back because we had the dream team of all times. One of which is here, the mastermind of many different people. Gunny, what'd you do here?
Well, Tim, thank you. Thank you for the phone call that I got when you said, I have a project you might be interested in. And of course we were immediately. This incredible opportunity to bring these rooms back to what they once were. And the ability to pick, as he says, the dream team to do it. And I think we certainly did that, starting with our own office. Bob Score, who's here with us today, led the project for Harbo Architects and was here almost on a daily basis to make sure that everything we wanted to do was done. But it really started 2 years ago when we put together the investigation team, which included Berglund Construction to help facilitate. We had Building Conservation Associates, which did the meticulous laboratory and in situ testing of all the surfaces to figure out if we actually could get back to the original finishes. And Evergreen Architectural Arts, which was the contracting side of the thing that actually helped in this collaborative effort that was involving both the design team and the construction team actually all the way through this project, which was not unique but an unusual situation to actually achieve what was done here. And it was a really fantastic experience for me in the 30 years I've been doing this and have worked on some really important buildings here in the city and beyond. This is certainly in the very top rank of projects that we've been involved with, both for the process, the execution, which was actually almost seamless, and just in the energy that was here. The people that worked on this project, and they're all going to be here tonight, and we were going to certainly honor them there, they were all firmly engaged and enthusiastic, and the passion that they brought is why it looks like it does today. And without that, it just doesn't happen the same way. And I think you can actually feel that in, there's thousands and thousands of men and women hours that went into scraping the paint off these surfaces to get back. These are virtually the original surfaces on this ceiling, but the red paint and all the green paint you see in there was all covered with gray paint. And they removed it either with an X-Acto knife, and you can imagine how long that took, or with little cotton swabs and acetone to take the paint off. And then it was all touched up and conserved, brought back to what it once had been. And this was meticulous and intense. And they had to work like this for 6 months. It's like the Sistine Chapel, only it's not quite as decorative as that, but really pretty amazing. For me personally, and I'm probably over my time, but I have one little anecdotic story to tell you, and that is that, as many of you know, I'm called Gunny Harbo, which is a nickname I've had since I was in utero, so it was hard to kick. But my real name is Thomas McIlvaine Harbo. And Thomas McIlvaine was my great-grandfather, who I knew had served in the Civil War. And this is his photograph from when he was in the Civil War as a young man. He actually enlisted 3 times, the first time at 17 and this time when he was 21. And he served honorably as a corporal. And this is his little dog that followed him through the Civil War. And then in the course of doing this project, I remembered that there was some stuff in his belongings that I had inherited, and included his G.A.R. pin. So for me, that was a personal connection that I always try to bring a lot of passion to my projects, but this really sealed the deal for me and made this something that I could be even more proud of than I would otherwise be, which is hard to say because I was certainly very proud of it. So thank you all for coming, and we'll be around to answer questions that you may have, but I think I've overrun my time, so I'll stop there. Thank you. I'm sorry.
beautiful. Thank you so much. So just a few closing remarks. Thank you again, Gunny and Tim and Mayor Lightfoot. In closing, we want to welcome all of you back to the Chicago Cultural Center tomorrow and Sunday for free public programming presented as part of our special reopening weekend, including tours, talks, dance performances, and more, plus the continuing exhibitions, welcome center and learning lab events, and shopping at our Buddy store downstairs. Both Tim and Gunny will be leading behind-the-scenes tours all weekend. Chicago Times columnist Laura Washington will moderate a conversation with art historians, and one of my favorites, Red Clay Dance, will also perform. We'll tease a new TV documentary by Cable 25 airing in May, and you won't want to miss our art exhibitions throughout the building, including critically acclaimed Art and Race Matters, The Career of Robert Colescott. For more information, please visit our website at chicagoculturalcenter.org. And we're looking forward to celebrating with you this weekend and all year. As you've heard, this year marks the 125th anniversary of the Chicago Cultural Center when it opened in 1897. And last but not least, for everyone here today who is looking for even more expert insights from Tim and from Gunny, we'll be leading 2 small group tours of these beautiful spaces starting in just a few minutes if you're interested. So thanks again for coming. It was really lovely to see all of you. Please join us this weekend for the events.